Now, being very honest here, I gotta say, the one thing that I really do appreciate the most about both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni is how much attention they really do actually, focus on Star Wars Legends and all the surrounding lore that George Lucas approved decades ago after, of course, the original trilogy came out and about, and when Lucas was focusing on all the books, the comics, and the video games back in the day and stuff around those lines, and how a lot of that is going to have live-action adaptations in the upcoming actual Star Wars shows on Disney+. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future Star Wars updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, given that there's a lot of things going on between Jon, Dave, the Disney executives, and exactly what kind of way they want to execute the future of the Star Wars brand, right? The overall roadmap and exactly how everything's going to be organized. And there's one thing about, of course, the Skywalkers that Disney wants to keep that very thing relevant and to keep that remain intact. Now, when you look at stuff like Anakin, Luke, and stuff around those lines, they really are the glue of the Star Wars franchise. They really are like the main characters that really are like the middle point of the show, or of the overall story, I should say. And I know it's not everything, but at the end of the day, Star Wars really does date all the way back to the Skywalkers, and at the root of it all, it really was born from the Skywalker lineage. Now, moving on to the next big thing here is exactly what Jon and Dave have planned to do something very special for Anakin Skywalker and Hayden Christensen. This is something that has been in the works for a very long time now, that is going to make its way into a very special Star Wars show. Now, with Lucasfilm getting ready to make big changes to the Star Wars franchise in order to build up the hype for the fandom. However, behind the scenes, it's noted that one of the big scenes that Jon and Dave are working on for the Ahsoka Tano series is going to do something incredible for Anakin Skywalker and Hayden's return once again. This is currently in the storyboarding process and is intended to be a big deal for the second season of Star Wars Ahsoka. Both Jon and Dave recently hired Hayden Christensen to come back for Ahsoka Season 2, in which both Anakin and Ahsoka are going to be getting a big reunion within the world between worlds in one of the most unique ways possible. The original plan was to include this scene in Season 1, but was pushed to Season 2 after Jon and Dave figured they turned this into a multi-season show. Now, the full-fledged scene is set to involve Ahsoka and a CGI version of Sir Alec Guinness's version of Obi-Wan's Force Ghost, communicating with Anakin as he begins to die during the events of Return of the Jedi inside of Vader's suit. Now, let me pause here for 1 second before I get to the next big piece, is that basically what's happening here and what Jon and Dave are creating is the fact that both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka are communicating with Anakin as he is dying in Luke's arms. This is all going to be seen through archived footage through one of the portals in the WBW. By the way, we talked about this lightly a couple of months ago, about how they intended to actually make this happen in the first season, but now it's being pushed over to the second one because now they want to stretch the WBW material out. What I love so much about this is that this is actually canonizing, or at the very least I should say, adapting a very big moment from the actual, novelization of Return of the Jedi, in which Obi-Wan himself is actually teaching Anakin on how to become one with the Force, to become a part of the netherworld, so to speak. And that's a very interesting thing that Jon and Dave are doing, the fact that both Ahsoka and Kenobi, who were very close to Anakin Skywalker, the closest people besides Padme Amidala, and of course besides Luke also, when you look at this scenario, they're looking through a portal and communicating with Anakin at the moment that he is dying in Luke's arms. And Obi-Wan is teaching him step by step on how to focus as he is actually beginning to perish and become one with the Force and to become a Force ghost. Now, in the beginning, Jon and Dave only wanted Ahsoka to do this. Things have seemed to have changed, where they included now Obi-Wan to actually step into the equation. Moving on. On top of that, Ahsoka is said to be communicating with Anakin as he is dying, and Obi-Wan is guiding him on how to transition into the netherworld, which is going to be called the Astral Plane. the big breakthrough that Jon and Dave are about to unveil is that the world between worlds is said to be this sort of purgatory destination, or a bridge, if you will, between the netherworld and the mortal world. The other storyboards involves Obi-Wan successfully teaching Anakin on how to transition to a Force Ghost, where Anakin Skywalker as his younger self is set to fully appear in the WBW smiling at Ahsoka as Kenobi stands behind him. Now again, I just want to stop here quickly before I get to the last piece about this, is that really sounds very emotional. This is why I like Jon and Dave in some areas, is that they know how to create emotion. This is why so many fans got so emotional when Luke made his entrance in Season 2, and how now, in the Ahsoka series, for Season 2 of Ahsoka, by the way, this is not for Season 1, is that they are going to have Hayden as a Force Ghost in the WBW smiling at Ahsoka Tano, and standing beside a CG version of Sir Alec Guinness's version of Kenobi's Force Ghost. That to me is brilliant. I don't know about you guys, but that to me is brilliant. The fact that they want to really reinvent or bring back Guinness's version of Kenobi as a Force Ghost in the WBW is just stunning, and something that really does pay tribute to him as an actor, as a person, and to George Lucas and the original trilogy movies. Moving on. Now this is where both Anakin and Obi-Wan vanish into the netherworld finally, and Ahsoka lives on to take on another adventure. The footage of Anakin dying in Vader's suit is set to be used directly from archived footage from Return of the Jedi that will be seen through one of the portals being created by Dave Filoni. The ultimate plan here too is to use unused John Williams music to be laid over this particular moment in the world between worlds. Now, I don't know about you guys, but the fact that Disney executives want to make Ahsoka the new flagship series, and yes, this is the plan, by the way. They want to make it the main show over The Mandalorian because they want to focus more so on the mythology of the franchise, everything related to all these different characters that were either born from Rebels or from Legends, and how they can utilize that to communicate with some of the legacy characters. And this is just brilliant. I love this. I think that this is great. And the fact that this is moving along and getting pushed over into Season 2 to kind of save the best things for last or for later, I think is a great way to build up hype. Now, granted, we are going to be getting Anakin, a whole lot of him in Season 1, and a lot of Hayden in Season 1 still. So there's still a lot of that to look forward to later this year. Alright, even Rosario said they're trying to get this thing out by the fall. Maybe even earlier if they're lucky. But I'm still, debating on the fact that they may or may not keep it at that fall, release window, so to speak. Anyways, with that being put out there and said, guys, I'm very intrigued to hear what you guys have to say about Jon and Dave's efforts on this reunion between both Anakin and Ahsoka. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.